Last email here, and then we're going to get out of here and do the Patreon podcast for all of our beautiful patrons. Life advice / tips on creativity. Hey, Lou, looking for some life or general advice about being a creative. For some context, I've worked full-time in childcare for the past 4.5 years. I love it, but I'm a huge introvert, and using all my social energy at work is really beginning to take a toll on my personal life. I'm always absolutely exhausted when I get home and am reluctant to hang out with friends and family in my spare time because I feel like I have no time to recharge and do the things I actually enjoy on my own. I'm sure that last bit is quite a common problem at the moment, but it's been a struggle all the same. I've gotten to a point where I've found myself daydreaming about having some meaningless, soul-crushing office job just so I'm not so wrecked all the time. I know that probably would not solve the problem, but that's where I'm at. On the other hand, I've quite always enjoyed making up stories. I used to do an exercise with some friends where we would choose a piece of music and give ourselves a time of, say, 20 minutes to write a story inspired by the instrumental. That's cool. I always really enjoyed those and feel I wrote some pretty decent stuff occasionally. This leads me to think it might be cool to be an author. I am, of course, aware that that's quite a competitive market and difficult to get into and make a name for yourself in. Plus, I'm not sure that a casual interest and a twinkle in my eyes means that I actually have the chops to create something that people will like. I have a couple of ideas for worlds to set stories in, but every time I try to look at them critically, it seems insane, even though I think they're cool. Plus, I don't want to turn another passion into a job and have the joy of it forcefully ripped from me. On top of this, my partner and my family are considering starting a family of our own. My partner and I, not my partner and my family. I was thinking about fucking my cousin and having kids. My partner and I are considering starting a family of our own soon, so I don't want to be spreading myself too thin, working hard trying to start a new thing while working the old one that's already wiping me out. Long story short, I would love to hear what you think about dealing with a job you love that runs counter to your personality, managing work and social life, starting a journey as a creative, and even how I might hone my writing or creative skills. Thanks for all you do. Been loving watching The Big Swing. We love it. And I can't wait to see you live again this year. Have a shit one, Alex. This is a great question. So I'm noticing a few things here. Firstly, you are scared about what other people think of your writing before you've even done it. Really good advice. Prove that you're shit. Prove you're a bad writer. Write something bad. What's going to happen? If you write something that's shit, what will actually happen? You'll enjoy the writing process, you'll get better, and it might actually be good. Or it might be bad, and you'll improve. You obviously have a problem, which is your taste exceeds your talent, which is a problem that every single creative or athletic person has, or anyone who wants to do anything, is that they know where they want to be, and because they know so much about the field they want to enter, the art form they want to do, the sport they want to play, they are acutely aware of their position and their skill set and the massive gap between them and where they want to be or where they have to be to compete. But the only way to close the gap is to close the gap. You got to be shit. Like no one expects someone playing piano to be good for the first few years. Everyone expects them to be bad. The same is true of being a writer, of being a comedian, of everything. I experienced this. It was brutal getting up on stage and performing for people who were disappointed that you were not good. At least you don't have an audience. You can write something and never let anyone read it. I had to go up there in front of like 20 or 30 people that knew who I was, some of them. So they were like, oh, this guy's really funny. And then I just fucking wasn't. Or people that were like, oh, this guy sucks. This is bad. That's way more brutal. And that was like at least a year of me just being shit before I got average. And now I'm fucking amazing. But you got to go through that. The writing, you just have to do it. And I bet you do have time. I get up in the morning and before I do anything, I write 3 pages in a notebook. Everyone has time to do that. It takes 30 minutes. Everyone can wake up 30 minutes early to do push-ups, to do their writing, to send an email, to do whatever you've got 30 minutes in the morning. If you wake up 30 minutes earlier, you can do that. However, working full-time in a job that burns you out when you're a huge introvert, I relate to that a lot because I did that to myself, and I also used to, even when I left the workforce and was just employed by me, I set up my life in a way that I couldn't tolerate because I'm a very introverted person, believe it or not. People are like, "Wow, you're an introvert, but you like perform on stage and you've got a podcast." Yeah, dude, I have a solo podcast where I talk for an hour and no one else says anything unless permitted to speak. That's right. And then I get on stage and I perform for an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, and the only response you're allowed to make is laughing or clapping or being silent. Like there's not much. I'm talking, but there's no conversation going on, you know? So yeah, I relate to that a lot where like working in a job that fucking burns you out socially, and then you just want to go home and just work and rest and be in solitude, and you're burned out and you can't really do anything else. I relate to that heaps. And kind of the only answer to that is either you need to figure out a way to do your job differently so that you don't feel that exhaustion and your that burnout. Like, are you giving too much of yourself away at work? Like, are you acquiescing to every single need that comes up from every single other person? Like, are you not looking after yourself when you're at work? Like, do you really need to be surrounded by people all the time? Maybe you do in childcare. I don't really know. I imagine you can't just leave the kids playing by the pool and go sit on your phone in the office, you know, just hope they don't drown. You probably can't do that. But you know what I mean? Like, are there any moments that you can take for yourself? Are there any things that you're doing that you don't really need to be doing? Are you going above and beyond to the point of harming yourself? But yeah, using all your social energy at work is probably a bad thing, because I know that when I was doing that, I really struggled to write, and I've really understood that that I think that this is even true of creative people that aren't super big introverts. I think that solitude is unbelievably important for any sort of idea generating, because you need to think. It's sometimes very helpful to bounce ideas off other people, but only after you've got those ideas and you have something to workshop. Whether it's a sketch or a video or like a joke, I can't come to like group writing sessions with nothing and expect to get something out of it. I have to be alone and be going for a lot of walks and a lot of like sitting and thinking. Like how I used to structure my work is I used to have editors and people coming over every single day, and thinking that would help me create, but it just kind of stressed me out and burned me out because I was just surrounded by people and I was giving too much of myself away, and then I didn't have anything left for me and my ideas. Now how I've set my stuff up is I still work with lots and lots of people, but it's pretty much purely remote. I see Keelan once a week, pretty much, and I see, but not even anymore, because Keelan's moved to Canberra. Once a month now, and I see Mitch probably once a month in person, and other than that, I'm in contact with people as needed, and I've just figured out how to structure my work around what my brain needs, because at the end of the day, I am the product, and what I'm making and what I'm creating, if I am not looked after and if I'm not structuring my life in a way that helps me to be creative and to do it well, you might as well be an athlete that's training but not eating, or training but not sleeping. You know what I mean? Like you have to rest and you have to look after yourself. That said, I've only been able to do that because I've managed to leave my job and managed to figure out a way to make money and to fund all of this and to pay the bills with my art form. Before that, it's tough, but you kind of got to suck it up and just push through it. And that is tough. And the only way I was able to do that when I still needed a job, because comedy was making no money, and in fact, it was just costing money for many years, is, yeah, I went out and I intentionally got a soulless, mindless job. I worked in a call center. I didn't talk to fucking anyone other than the customers. For some reason, it didn't really feel like using social energy because it was just kind of solving people's problems. You wouldn't actually really talk to them. I didn't talk to any coworkers. I didn't go out to anything at night with them. I didn't partake in the work culture at all. I was a recluse. I think there's even like on some Reddit thread somewhere I saw years ago, someone complained about working with me, saying that I was really selfish and not a team player. And it's like, yeah, bro, we worked in a call center. What do you mean a fucking team player? What group project are we helping with? We're helping the bank make more money for shareholders. What group project were we working on? All right, I was doing my calls, you were doing yours, and you're upset because I didn't do fucking cocaine with you on Friday night. Okay, that doesn't make me selfish. That just means I wanted to go home after my soul-sucking corporate job so that I can do what I actually want to do. Have fun at the fucking call center you undeniably still work at, talking shit about me on Reddit, you fucking loser. See, this is what happens if you don't follow your dream. You end up being some bitch working in a call center complaining about someone who actually did do what they wanted to do on fucking Reddit. Sorry, bit of a detour. I forgot about that. It pissed me off. Why don't you just do this 20-minute thing? You've got 20 minutes every morning. Why don't you just fucking get up in the morning and for the next like 3 weeks, spend 20 minutes listening to a song and writing a story and don't show anyone. Just get better at it. Just, do it for the sake of doing it. I would really take a look at maybe switching industries or switching jobs within the childcare industry if doing this is burning you out so much. Because even let's say you don't want to be a writer, right? Let's say you don't you love your job, but it's burning you out everywhere. You can't really be a good partner to your wife. You can't really be a good father to your kid that you'll eventually have if you're coming home every day so socially exhausted from looking after other people's children and worrying about other people's parents that you come home just a fucking shell. Sounds like that's not good for you. I think that I read this really, really interesting book that I would recommend to anyone who feels like an introvert and who struggles at work or in the world. It's called Quiet, and it's about how essentially the entire world and every workplace, the government, how our entire society is structured and designed and built, it's built by extroverts for extroverts. And it makes sense that it's been built that way because, I know as an introverted person, if I was involved in discussions of like, oh, how do we build a 500-person office? I'd be like, I don't fucking know. I don't really want to be involved in this. I don't really know how people want to operate or whatever. And the extroverted person who feels naturally inclined to like interacting with and being with other people is naturally going to be like, oh, I'll have a crack at this. I'll do this. And anyway, because of that, fucking hell. The patreon.com/loosespears. The entire world has been built by and for extroverted people, often to the detriment of even extroverted people, but even more so introverted people. This is stuff like open plan offices where nothing fucking gets done because every single conversation can be heard by everyone. When they've worked out that actually solitude and closed plan offices are actually way more productive for everyone, including extroverted people. Really interesting book that might give you a bit more clarity on like why you're feeling like this and the solutions to it. But that's what I would recommend, dude, is I would seriously consider looking at if you are this fucking burned out that you can't spend time with your friends and family because of your normal job that you have, it might be time to consider switching industries or switching roles within that industry. And with the writing, if you worried about breaking into a tough industry or this or that, or if I wrote a book, would it even sell? I was not thinking those things when I started comedy. Like, obviously I would like to be super fucking famous, but the more I worry about sales and selling shit and promoting stuff and marketing and all that kind of stuff, the less I worry about actually being very funny and releasing good stuff, which is what actually sells tickets, what actually grows my career, what actually gets people through the door and what actually makes people buy the t-shirt. You know, like I focus on making a good t-shirt, not making a good fucking marketing campaign for the t-shirt or stressing about if anyone's going to buy the t-shirt before I even make it. It's like, nah, I'm just going to make a really fucking good one. And, you know, if it's good, people will get it because it's cool and it looks good. If I haven't written anything or published anything, just be shit. Nothing will happen. Be bad at it. You might accidentally write something good. If you don't, you'll improve. And you absolutely have 20 minutes every morning to put on a song and fucking write. If your house is too noisy or you get distracted by other people, fucking do it in the car. Do it on the train on the way to work. Probably don't do it while driving. You may crash and die. But you know what I mean. You got 20 minutes. And I would say that a big reason why every time you think about writing or a dream or whatever, or a thing that you have, every time you think about that, if you come up with 35 reasons why it's impossible, that's true. It is impossible. But if every time you think about it, you try and come up with 35 reasons why it is possible, it becomes possible. Fake it till you make it. And also, if the only time you think about your thing, you have negative thoughts and you're about how exhausted you are and this and that, it's probably a big sign that you're actually living your entire life incorrectly. If your whole life is just going to a job that makes you feel like shit when you're not at the job, you got to change jobs. You'd be happier with less money. That's obviously easier said than done, but I've been there, man. I've had several jobs that I absolutely fucking hated. I didn't come from money. I didn't have anything to fall back on. I was broke for years. I left my job. I came back to my job. I've talked about this a lot. I've struggled a lot. I've even gone through this with all my health stuff. It's all fucking possible. Like, I've done it. As exhausted as you are, I probably felt way worse for like 2 years and I was still fucking doing it because you got to do it. And if you want to do it, you will do it. So, and if you can't do it, you got to have a look at your life and figure out why you actually can't. Is it just because you're scared, or is it because you're living your life in a way where you have no energy for fucking anything else? That's my advice. But good luck. 20 minutes a day, man. I know you have that. Or at night, or whenever. You can do that. After you finish work, fucking don't go home. Sit in the car and write for 20 minutes. You can do that.